No, HER. It's HER. Yeah, just 3 letters. And so the only thing I can say is, you know what? After talking to you, you're saying that you can cease for 30 minutes and that you will continue on. That's basically the only thing I can write as a third party. I mean, like I said.
You won't be doing anything to...
We won't be doing anything other than removing the trees and the shrubs, then replanting.
So you could replant
You're
as soon
saying
as the
replant,
contract is approved. And when is
Just
that vote scheduled
clearing
for?
and rubbing
Yeah.
the area.
We've got to
It's
do,
gonna take, what is the contract start?
it's
Not-
not
don't-
relevant.
Could I have an
we're not
understanding
there.
why you don't want to grade this area, which I'm glad you're not going to do?
Which is
But
what the
as an
white
example,
signifies
between
is
these
that they're
two
not.
high ground- This is
Because
Grading.
that's already
a good
a
habitat.
shallow area
Yeah, perfect.
that lays down, and
Okay.
we're just coming up on the backside, and there's
Okay.
some here for flows that want to go in.
So some grading, explain the grading right here that you
In
want
the
to do in this
blue?
little strip.
That is just changing for flow patterns.
Oh, I see.
But on the
Is it
bank
gonna be
area, the
lower
blue,
than this area or higher?
Yes.
than this?
Minus,
Which one?
that's 0, so this is -2,
Oh,
and
it's going to be lower, okay.
Okay.
So help us understand, in this area, it looks like the area that you're going to be regrading includes the trees that we wanted to preserve in
Correct.
place. So can you talk with us about how you're planning on approaching that so that it doesn't impact those trees that we wanted to leave?
and the
Especially
red,
that's
the
what
ones
we're
that
gonna
have
have
the monarch.
we're gonna have to take a look at
Can you
that.
share some thinking with us about what you've
The
talked about so
thinking
far?
there is you've got problems,
Okay.
okay? Because if you're gonna keep a tree,
Marcia, do you want to join us? This is actually specifically
I was
about
just giving her
soil
a-
removal around the eucalyptus that we want to keep. You can see that they're planning to regrade through that area that we just talked about saving the trees.
So how
we were just asking.
the red constitutes removal, is that correct?
That's where they're, doing the main
That's-
excavation.
Red and
So
blue.
how will you
Oh.
save the trees if you're removing all the soil around?
He highlighted in pencil when he
Let me-
might be not doing that.
let me explain.
Oh, yes, please. That's why I wanted to.
So- If we are going to leave a tree in place,
Mhm.
and there's contaminated soils around it, what we have to do is stay outside the drip line,
Mhm.
remove the soils, but we can't get into the drip line. Okay?
All of the,
Now-
all the roots?
No, the drip line is where you're right, right.
That you're saying don't go past the drip line. The soil around.
Well,
On the outside of the drip line.
think of a tree like a
Yeah.
dumbbell. But the dumbbell is buried in the ground, and you're only seeing half of
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I
it. Okay,
understand.
so the
But
drip
so you-
line and the roots are
So you
generally
would be
going.
just going around the drip line.
On the outside.
Jim,
In
I'm
In
confused.
response
though.
to your question, how would we approach it if we were to approach it?
Mhm.
That would be the general approach. Now the practicality is, can we do that? So we have to go and look at that specifically, and then we'll respond.
Am I incorrect, or is that actually the blue area you said is where you're going to be grading rather than
That's correct.
removing?
Correct.
So that adds a whole nother level. of
I
complexity.
believe that, and we're actually going deep in a
Correct.
few places, as deep as, I think that is the word, deep end, most of the grading.
And that's-
As deep as 4 feet in.
To try to build it up.
In the
No, not build
blue,
it up.
or in the
actually go
red?
down.
Oh, okay.
Go down more.
Okay.
I think we need to deepen that, and that's why I think that size is deepest. Some of these areas, I need to look at the specific profile. I think they vary from 1 to 2 feet.
If that
but-
goes deep, you're gonna end up with a huge sump at the back that is, I mean, the water won't be able to flow out. If it's
Well,
deeper there.
I'm not the designer, I'm just looking at the plans telling you. that-
Jim and
Okay,
may I just
So,
clarify
Jim,
one little thing, which is why I'm
I've
trying
spoken
to
now
take
with
a picture of this?
a
I'm
soil
sorry.
scientist, PhD, professor, specialist in soil science, and they were looking at a little bit of the report and showing me, and so far we think the contaminated chemicals in the soil are elevated levels of cadmium in some spots and some lead.
But not a federal level, but a state
At the
level.
federal state level, okay, so this soil scientist told me that something confirmed what I brought up a week ago, was that they're buried and that they will not interfere with plant growth or animal life, and they're kind of sequestered and trapped in the soil, and that digging down to get to those contaminants will release some of those
I think I
possibly into the
believe
water.
that is not so much to remove the contaminant. When I was saying that we'll go deeper, that is actually for the drainage,
Okay.
for the flood, enhancing the flood control aspect of Oxford.
So the soil removal that we're talking about here is not so much about contamination, it really is more about your plans and from the.
Right, because you have to remember
It's a
this is primarily a flood control facility.
I'm sorry, I'm standing here, I apologize for hanging on your shoulder here. I just,
Somebody's always hanging on my shoulder, don't worry. We're behind me, I'm used to it, it's okay.
I just wanted to confirm, the red is the area that is contaminated
Contaminated
soil that
soil.
you intend to remove, and
Yes.
that's approximately 2 feet through that area?
No, it all depends on.
So you have actual soil sampling per the areas that need to be
Right.
removed?
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
right.
I think
Okay.
I might have been erroneous stated the entire place 2 feet. No, it all depends on the actual profile.
So will you be doing some other sampling? Because I note that the samples were only like 20 around the entire perimeter. So will you be doing additional sampling to see where the contamination is, to see
No.
whether it was? No. Okay, you're just giving it, where you did find it, taking care of that area.
Right.
And then the blue would be areas that you are reconfiguring?
Regrading, yes.
All right, because I also noticed that in the soils report, it says that certainly half of it is just non-hazardous fill anyway.
Right,
So,
right.
but, and you don't have the interior marked here, because this is an area where you do intend to take out also.
No, they're saying.
No.
light
Sediment.
needs to
No.
change.
You're not?
Certain areas, but no, I think for majority it's still the blue area.
No, I'm sorry, this is really a change for me. The interior area here, which we believe is where the sediments have come in and settled there, that is not being
No.
removed?
That's where we're taking this out.
The white? No, not
We're
the,
taking it out.
just the
here.
blue,
And the
Just the
blues.
blue,
not the white.
not the white.
The white remains. Wow.
But isn't the white where the berm is?
Yes, but the berm has got a blue line on it, so,
So I'm still confused. because
wow.
About,
Well, Angela just gave me this. This is what we've been asking for as to why, what is the directive from the State Water Board. This is a bacteria TMDL, and it has to be complied with by
Right.
December
Mhm.
2015. So, great, but how does that relate to why you would have to remove the soils beneath the trees? That doesn't make sense to me. That's not a bacteria.
we found contaminated materials in here.
What kind of contamination?
Just, as you stated, lead and,
But it's not that high, it's not something you're being directed to by the water board to deal with.
They
Does
say
it-
both, Marcia.
it's
They
not,
say both. They say contaminated material as a whole, so
All right,
include
excuse me, thank you.
through the.
So I'd like to see that order, because I don't see that the water board is ordering you to take out the soils under the trees. I mean, that's the part I don't get.
I don't think the water board is going to dictate to us to remove the soil under the trees. They're saying whatever soil remediations you need to do to improve the circulation and or if you have leaching from the surrounding soil, then you need to do those removals by December 15th.
But there's no proof that there is that. I mean,
Of next
get
year.
inside, but I
think
don't
there-
get,
Of December 15th, 2015?
2015.
Okay.
So that was.
but that's bacteria, that's not,
that's bacteria.
right, so the
bacteria
soils
Okay,
underneath
if
the
we
trees,
have lead in the soil.
but not
That's
that
not
much.
bacteria,
Not that,
right.
not
We
that
have
the board
lead
has
in the
said.
soil.
There,
Okay.
it is
Lead in every
designated in the
soil.
URS report.
Okay, so,
We have lead in the soil.
Right.
and therefore,
Lead leaches. We're working there, we're being prudent and diligent in removing it.
So flood
So it's
control
not-
flood control is their main thing, and then improving the water quality of from metals and bacteria virus is a slides under that. I'm wondering, is part of the reason for the area of magenta along that you have identified is this stretch in here along
Yes.
Casualty Way? Is it, since flood control is a part of it, are you trying to make that slope stronger because it's getting to be older, or there's some indication of slope failure risk involved in that
No.
area?
No.
No, it's not.
Actually,
You're not
the
worried
side
about
is about
Admiralty.
6 feet higher
It's
than
not
the
about
other side, so.
Admiralty Way.
No, it's
gonna
not okay.
collapse.
It's really coming over. It's water coming out this way.
Okay.
That's what we said.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure you all know that the basin is essential for the surrounding neighborhoods.
Yes.
Flood control. You
Right,
know
it's
that,
in
right?
my,
Yeah.
Because
It's also essential for the birds, which is why it was originally.
for the
And I just want to
freshwater.
go back to, the reason it became a bird conservation area in 1963 is because more than half of the biome wetlands were destroyed to build Marina del Rey. That was why the supervisors dictated this was going to be a bird conservation area, because even back then, before all the environmental laws were happening and mitigations, etc., there were people who loved birds. And the Audubon people were going, why are you taking away half of the wetlands?
Now, Marcia, that's true, but they
Right,
also
but-
created it as a flood control
I
basin,
understand
so they're
that.
trying to do a dual.
Right,
And, well, it's more than a
purpose.
dual. It's now a TMDLs for bacteria. It's a TMDLs for lead. It's and
Right,
the point
and-
is, you know, I'm not sure we can do all those things, and that's why we wanted
But
to
that's
know
in
who
their
were
reports
mandated.
also.
I get the bacteria mandate here, but I don't get a mandate about taking out the soils around all the trees.
That's the
I
lead
just
that
don't
he's talking
see
about.
that there's a mandate for
Like
it.
to share with you something that's going on at the state level in Sacramento. You have the 150-year-old Department of Fish and Wildlife, formerly called Fish and Game, that is really interested in preserving the nature biodiversity of our state. And they don't have concern that much over pollution issues, except if it hurts wildlife, then they would be probably crying foul.
Oh,
But in the
sorry.
1960s, right, waterfowl, no waterfowl intended, right. So, but what happened in the 60s and 70s was a new dimension of government with the creation of EPA and water quality. And that branch of state government is trying to clean up waters, and they're myopic in their determination to do that, that they don't care or have concern over wildlife or habitat. So you have two state agencies that are regulatory. One regulates wildlife, the other regulates water quality, and they don't see eye to eye on things a lot. And if you're taking some direction or regulation guidance from the water quality people, but not from the wildlife endangered species habitat people of the state officials. And the state officials under wildlife, that's our Department of Fish and Wildlife, who gave you the stream bed alteration agreement, they would love for you to ask them for a habitat conservation plan to design this project so water quality isn't the driving force,
Well,
but that if you found out that the water quality was hurting some of the waterfowl or the salt marsh, then they would defer to have that improved. But short of, because right now we don't have any indications that wildlife species, whether it's fish or birds or monarch butterflies, which are all adapted and evolved for this type of water quality with organics in the water, and that is going on. So what happened in the 60s and 70s was human aspects of water quality. And so that you're being kind of sandwiched into trying to see if you can improve the water quality so that human infants or elderly people won't get sick.
And they're not
But
in
doesn't
there.
hurt. But
May
who
I
should
ask
be
a
in this
question?
area?
Right,
And
please.
the water quality in the marina, including Mother's Beach nearby, gets a grade of F a lot from another environmental group called Heal the Bay, which is not considered they're not interested in wildlife, they're interested in
water quality.
water quality and making the beaches
May I
safe
ask
for
a
people to swim.
question?
So I would just have to wrap up here for a second to get this thought across. I think maybe I have already, but I think if you were to, the fishing department, you're going to call the Fish and Wildlife Department after this meeting, and they have regulations that trigger them to spend time and bring their expertise of scientists into a project if they get asked. So if we could get to a place where, and you could go baby step and say, we're not saying we are going to do what you want and do your habitat conservation plan, but we'd like to hear your thoughts about a habitat conservation plan. And some of the biologists involved in the CEQA process where you got your permits are specialists in habitat conservation planning, and they really like to do that kind of work. And they could really solve, but if those fish and wildlife officials and scientists don't get to, they're not allowed to present and try to suggest to you